If, for example, we wanted any airmets, sigmets, or TFRs, we have that clicked here as we see under airmets, sigmets, TFRs. We've got that guy as well. We can, of course, click on our TFRs, our flight category. What that means is if I click on flight category, we notice here that Santa Barbara, right under our RZS, or basically Magoo right under Camarillo, these are both showing green. So these are basically showing that that is a VFR flight category. We see all the little green dots everywhere. All right, if we wanted to, we can switch this over and put it to visibility. So now we know at each one of these points, we've got how much visibility, and now we're seeing actually at Lima 52 that we're dealing with a little bit less visibility. All right, that's why it's blue, but still those VFR conditions. All right, another thing that's actually kind of useful, at least I've used it before, is you can actually select here where it says fuel. You can click on fuel, and that'll pop up all the current fuel prices in your area, right? So this is very useful, especially for us, you know, if we're sitting here and we see, you know, something like Santa Barbara's at $3.93, which is really surprising because they're usually really expensive. Then you can, you know, plan out according to that. If you plan to where you're going to be ending at somewhere that's $5, maybe you just need to take that stop, or know that if you land there, they'll take a little fuel stop after, you know, the fact, and go fuel up somewhere else. I like to use this because it's, to be honest, obviously we're saving time, we're saving money by pre-planning all this stuff, okay? So we'll just stick that back to visibility. All right, but so we've got our flight plan. We know what it looks like, right? So let's go a little bit more in depth, right? Yeah, so Santa Paula is one that I like to use very much because we see 329 at Santa Paula. That's like buying premium gas a month ago. So it's amazing, right? But we know now, so what we're going to look at is, of course, we're going to want to gather all the information possible for our flight. And we know this as pilots that we need to do this. So of course, I'm going to switch this back over to visibility just to not confuse us. But so Camarillo, for example, we see Camarillo, we see where it's at. We know it's the Class Delta airspace and all these things like that. But we see the runway. They see those extended runway center lines. And we notice that Oceano had the same thing. But so we've got these extended center lines, right? What we can actually do here is if we click on Camarillo, we click on KCMA, what's going to happen is going to pop up this little mini window for our airport, all right? So if, say, for example, we wanted to add a direct to, what that means is if we click on direct to, then that means wherever we're at, direct back to Camarillo, okay? If we want to go and we can remove it from our route, then at that point, it's going to basically swap back over, and it's going to remove Camarillo, and it's for some reason seeing us as this little GPS point over here, and that's why it's popping up. But we can add, you know, like we talked about earlier, insert before that. We'll put him back in KCMA, insert, just to give us a little bit better, okay? We'll click on KCMA again, and what we've got here is this is just like a very quick, we're flying along, going from KCMA, maybe we go and we click on Oxnard, we're flying, just wanting to get these information about it. So let's click KCMA. We see at the bottom left that little info tab. So we click on our info, we have an ASOS frequency. We actually pick up the ATIS frequency or the phone numbers associated with it. We know we're going to be talking to clearance delivery on 120.75, get it. Or, of course, Camarillo's ground frequency is our 121.8. Going all the way down, we can continue on any frequencies that might be useful or necessary to us, we're going to have here and available, right? We got all this stuff. We can even click into our runway. It's going to show us the winds, or what the winds of the current winds are doing for that runway. So we're knowing runway 26 is the better runway. But like we see here, that right traffic is in red because that's something that's unusual or different than, you know, normal. So we see that runway 8 is right traffic, even giving us our glide slope indicators, those PAPIs, what approach lightings we might have, or the edge lightings. And then even if we went down here, we're flying ILS, we can pull up some instrument, instrument approach plates. So, for example, just one little thing that we can do is we can click on the VOR runway 26, and that'll take us to a different spot, which we'll get to in a second. Let's just click back to maps. Remember, we got here by going down, clicking on Camarillo, scrolling down to runways. We click on runways. We are going to scroll all the way down. We're doing the VOR 26. We can click here. We see that little arrow and it says map. What this is going to do is going to put that plate onto the map. All right, so now at this point, we know we've got that JEP chart, and we can sit here and we can start actually briefing out a Jepson chart, and we've seen where it's actually overlaid on our chart, okay? We can actually see it real time, and what's nice is when we have the Sentry up and the Sentry works and things like that, what ends up happening is you can actually see your little spot, or you're seeing our dot, but you can see where you're at in regards to this instrument plate, okay? So that's just one little useful feature. When we go there, we can actually, of course, do a lot of different things, our settings, and this is a lot of stuff that we want to essentially play with, and you're going to have to just kind of sit around and play with and see all the different settings and things like that. But, so for example, we can invert the plate colors. We can actually change how much it actually bleeds through. So we see there now it's kind of faded, and it's allowing us to see what's underneath, or you can, go to where it's almost invisible. Bring it all the way back up. If, of course, we want to view it full screen, which we'll talk about in a second later. But then we see here the different options for these other procedures, right? Somebody asked us, well, what about a departure procedure? So if there is a departure procedure, the same thing applies, that you can actually go ahead and put that departure procedure, put it up on the map on your chart before you actually go and fly. Okay, so again, what we're going to do to add this to the map is we're clicking on our KCMA. Well, I'm going to do something real quick, just to make it simple. So KCMA, we clicked on KCMA. What we can actually do is we'll scroll down to where our runway is at. We see here runway 08 and 26. So we click on that. We're going to scroll down, and now we have all the procedures. We're seeing all the procedures here on our basically little info menu, all right? So if we want to add, for example, the RNAV for runway 26, we see that little map section right there, and it has a little square with the arrow pointing out. We click on that map, and it's going to put it onto the map.
So this version shows 9 procedures because we have the JEP plates on there. If you look at it, it's just, half of them are the government ones and the other half are just the JEP plates. So you can do either one, but it's an extra subscription.
Okay. So what we'll do here is we're going to go ahead, and up here we've got that little gear box, or little gear. We're going to go ahead and click on that. And from there, we're going to go ahead and, for example, with this, we're just going to hide it, okay? Just going to hide this plate for now, okay? So another thing that we see, obviously, I'm going to take this turbulence off just because it's kind of hazing everything up. But we're seeing all of our charts. If we were to look at a paper chart, it is the same things as we would see on a paper chart versus what we're seeing here. We're seeing all the different runways. We're getting all of our information just like you would see on a paper chart. We know we can move around. We know we can actually click on our flight plan. We can move our flight plan and change it. Let's just go ahead and add that little waypoint, because why not? Okay, so you can actually do all these different things. You can switch up all that stuff. But like we were just talking, you guys want to know how you can actually get into the instrument portion and things like that. So